Hey guys, my name is Daniel, and my comment fact today is on sort of a grim subject. It involves homelessness in Orange County, and more specifically that Orange County officials are mishandling the problem and actually making it worse. So there's a couple examples I'm going to talk to you guys today to explain and prove this fact. The first of which is one of the more controversial and more obvious. It involves a 6-month-long project along the Santa Ana River, and it aimed to add sand along the river and to add boulders along the river to help with the rain that we've been getting, to stop the river from overflowing and stuff like that. What they didn't advertise was at the beginning of the project, they added a 6-foot-tall chain link fence around the homeless encampment along the Santa Ana River. You can see it if you drive down the 57 South. They added a 6-foot-tall fence around that encampment, blocking 75 to 100 people from entering or exiting the encampment, and blocked access to public bathrooms and water. The problem got so bad after they erected the fence that only after a week, the ACLU stepped in and represented the man living in the encampment to sue the county for blocking public access to bathrooms and water. The mismanagement doesn't really stop at this particular example. The existing facilities that were erected to help and otherwise house the homeless are ill-equipped, underfunded, inadequate, and there's just plain not enough of them. So county reports estimate the number of homeless people on the river alone to be around 1,000. To address this issue, the county hasn't addressed this issue because they only opened up one homeless shelter, and it's the first 24-hour shelter in the county, opened last year, has a maximum capacity of 200, and that capacity was filled the first hour it opened. That shelter, along with a lot of the other shelters in the county, prioritize women and children first, so a lot of other homeless people are left out to dry, and they're left out in the night. They don't have a place to stay. The county only has one shelter open for specifically catering to adults, and it's only open seasonally. Only has a capacity of 150. The problem has gotten so bad that Sharon Willow, supervising director of the OC Healthcare Agency, has gone on record saying that there hasn't been a push to remove members of the homeless community because we know that they have no place else to go. So the consequences to this mismanagement and this mishandling have been deadly to the population. Over 1,300 people have died in the past 12 years. And the astonishing part in that fact is that of those 1,300 people, half of that number has come since 2013. 2016 alone, last year alone, 200 people died. And despite this, as one shelter volunteer puts it, we appeal to the supervisors and we appeal to the healthcare agency, and we were provided with no funding or no assistance of any kind. It's pretty clear that there's a crisis going on. There are people dying in our backyard, and the county isn't really doing much, or as much as it can do to help remedy the issue. This is an important issue. A lot of people are dying, and a lot of people are dying recently. It needs to be passed around. It needs to be known. Thanks.
Which is like 10 minutes away from the beach, and there's like southern Orange County, like south of Irvine.
So you'd be at Salt Creek all the time?
Yeah.
Lake Forest, isn't it Forest?
Yeah, all of it, up to so once you pass Irvine, that's where really rich, Irvine south is the really rich people. South Bryan, there's no homeless people there because what the cops do is when they see a homeless person, they take them off the streets and take them to Santa Ana, drop them off in Santa Ana. I've seen it happen so many times, they just knock them in the car and just shove them in Santa Ana.
All right, well, the proposition is labeled. It sounds like it's got two parts to it, so you might want to be a little careful about that. It starts off as if there is going to be a structure when you start talking about the Santa Ana River, and that's the first issue that you're going to talk about, but there's not really a development of secondary points after that, and so the contents need to be a little bit more set up at the beginning of the speech to structure and make it easier for us to follow the argument that's being presented. You've got some good factual data in the presentation concerning events about the homeless on the river and the construction of the fence that has created some problems, that we get a lawsuit that's related to that. So that's fine. You do want to give us sources on that. I don't think that that's hard to figure out. There's also good factual data about the number of shelters, or spots in the shelters, I should say, and that's also pretty good. And again, I do think you want to be sourcing this a little bit more. The question then becomes, what resources would be required to address this more effectively? Why are those resources not being utilized? Is there a limit on the spending? Those kinds of things. That's where the controversy, I think, is. There's certainly probably not a dispute that there are homeless problems, so that's not where the controversy is. You say it's mismanagement, and the best example that you have of mismanagement is the thing with the fence around the area where there was a homeless encampment, because it seemed to violate their rights and access to the toilets that were there. The mismanagement issue, I'm not sure applies to the insufficiency of locations for homeless people, shelters, for instance. You mentioned two government shelters that have been provided. I assume that there are probably other shelters that are out there to some degree. And is it really mismanagement, or is it just a shortage of investment? Those are different issues. If somebody is closing things that should be open, that's mismanagement. If they're allowing people longer access to the shelters than they are entitled to, that's mismanagement. If they close it and don't make it available when it's necessary to do so, that's mismanagement. But if it's simply insufficient resources, I'm not sure that that's a management issue. That's a choice that the Orange County government has made, and I think you want to make the argument that says that they've made an improper choice here, or that additional resources need to be spent here. We've got to be careful about making it a policy argument, though. All right. Thank you.